Hey, what's up everyone? It's the failed one here. So today we're gonna continue playing some more Lamento. Whoops, what did I just do? Let's go back. Actually, last time I had a glitch with this game and I couldn't save it, so I had to kind of go back and replay. It was really annoying. But last we left off, we saw the sacrifice going off to his death, and we returned home. So I guess I'll start reading from here since I accidentally skipped it. So at last Konoe reached his home. Suddenly he felt uneasy. He raised his ears and looked ahead. There was nothing odd about the place, but still he remained in place for a while and thought. Maybe he was becoming oversensitive. Okay, so I guess we're thinking about the sacrifice here. There was nothing strange. It was just his home, same as always. Konoe walked towards the entrance. He held the door open with his hand and looked at his surroundings, just to be sure. There was nothing. No sounds, no traces activity. I think we're being creeped out again by that snake. Konoe exhaled a bit. Nothing to worry about. His tension fading, Konoe dropped his gaze to his feet and froze. Uh-oh. A snake. No, it was a trail left behind by snakes. So did that snake exist? Or was there another snake that came in trying to kill us? His whole body shuddered, his pupils widened, and Konoe erased the trail left with his foot. For a moment his vision was dyed green, as if the memory of the dream came back to him. That's creepy. His throat closed up and Konoe felt as if he was choking, so he put a hand to his neck. That dream? Was it reality? Who knows, it's weird to say. He viciously trampled the snake's trail with all his might. He's super creeped out. Again and again until there was no trace of it left. All he saw were some marks that looked like a snake's trail. It wasn't related to a dream, just a real snake passing by, as they usually did. Yeah, but that dream creeped him out to the point that now seeing snakes might become a phobia. Damn. There was no meaning to it. Konoe pulled himself together. He slowly closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Since yesterday, things had begun to feel strange, especially with the premonition that old guy did, saying that we're bad, like something bad's gonna happen. It really doesn't help. I'm just... he muttered to himself. He opened his eyes again and looked at his feet. The ground was a mess and the trail had disappeared. Konoe decided to just head inside and go right to bed. Konoe set traps at the window and doorway just in case. Being paranoid, I guess. I mean, if you're living alone, that's your only way to protect yourself. He tossed his bag aside and groomed to calm himself down. After that, Konoe curled up and went to sleep. The nightmare came again that evening. Oh, we're back here again. Konoe was in that mysterious place again. Just the same as last night, Konoe drifted slowly and a faint light bloomed in front of his eyes. He could hear a pulse. Just like last night, a light overwhelmed him, but this time it was not green. No, maybe it's one of the other snakes. Maybe there's multiple. A yellow light covered Konoe, blocking his view. It was so brilliant and bright, he couldn't see a thing. Konoe contorted his face as he tried to open his eyes and draw a breath. A cold touch coiled around his ankle. At once his blood curdled. A serpent. Again. Just like yesterday's dream, the snake coiled around his throat. Maybe each color has a meaning to it. A voice echoed in his head. Out of the corners of his eyes, Konoe saw the head of a yellow snake. He raised his hand and tried to claw the snake off his neck, but to Konoe's surprise, the snake did not tighten its grip when he struggled. Its tongue flickered out, flooding over Konoe's cheek and neck. It gave him chills. It was such an odd feeling. It is, although I don't think I ever got licked by a snake. But I mean, when you're freaked out, this doesn't help. The snake's tail deviously came up and raised the hem of his shirt. Wow. Its skin felt slimy, and as soon as it touched him, Konoe trembled. Each time its smooth body shifted over his skin, he felt a sensation that was difficult to describe. Unintentionally, Konoe's ears turned down and he held his breath. The snake traced his body with its sharp tail as if it knew him. It knows his body, at least. It's a pervert.
No!
He sounds like the green snake. The snake whispered. It kept inquiring. Konoe's body reacted to the stimulation violently, as if it were no longer his own. The snake's tail began to rub his groin through his clothes. Oh jeez. This is a perfect snake. The other one tried to kill us. This one's trying to rape us. Konoe grit his teeth and twisted to escape the caressing of the snake. Still, the snake demanded. Just like the other one. An image of pleasure rushes through the snake's molestation. What? Oh jeez. These answers are kind of fake. I don't know what to choose. The snake's molestation? I guess? The other one seems like the other answer and the other one were like, oh yeah, give it to me. But I don't think we want to be raped by a snake. It makes good porn, makes great hentai, but I don't think we want to be. So I think the answer is the snake's molestation, so I'm gonna choose that. Konoe could not escape this if he did not answer. He knew this through instinct and tried to think in earnest. Konoe did not speak any words, but the snake stopped its movement. He wondered if it had read his thoughts, like the green snake. This seems like an exact replica of the green one. The caresses stopped, but the slime still glistened on his skin and his groin. The yellow snake began to move deliberately, its wet belly undulating. Ugh. Ugh. Well, I don't remember what the green snake was about, but now that we know each color has a thing to it, the yellow one is yeah, exactly. The yellow one is lust. The snake opened its mouth wide and laughed, tormenting Konoe. Heat flared up in the depths of Konoe's stomach. It was a sensation that he had not felt before, completely unknown. He couldn't help but want to escape, even if this was just a dream. The snake's scales shone and glittered with slime. I'm wondering if we're getting horny. If Konoe is getting horny off of this. Konoe wanted to throw off the snake, but his body couldn't move. His body ached with desire. Yeah, he's feeling hella horny. But all he could do was double over. The snake's sharp eyes approached his side. It was impossible to turn his face away from it. It laughed at Konoe and its tongue flickered in and out, teasing the nape of his neck. Oh jeez. Touch. Konoe jolted awake. He stared at the ceiling, hearing his own rough breathing. He'd had the same dream again. This time it was of a yellow snake. The snake of lust. Konoe sat up slowly and put a hand on his forehead. His whole body was drenched in sweat. He felt something odd on his arm and touched it. A chill ran down his spine. There was something slimy on his skin. So once again, it's like the snake was actually there. Konoe scanned his surroundings with his eyes. Nothing in the traps he'd set up at the windows or door. The only places anything could get in or out. So once again, well actually this time we kind of know. But yeah. Wasn't real, but it is real, and guess what? I'm pretty sure we're gonna find like another snake trail, which could be the snakes outside, like you mentioned before, or it could be the snake creeping in from somewhere and not getting into our traps. Could be a smart snake. Nor was there anything on the floor by his bed. Was it a dream? Or he thought about the meandering trail on the ground in front of his home. Had the snake entered at that time? Oh, that's a possibility. It wasn't a snake leaving, it's a snake entering, and he's been in the house this whole time, and he's still in the house. But the snake from tonight was a different color than the one yesterday. Did that mean that two of them had come into his house? Maybe there was a small hidden crevice somewhere through which they passed. He needed to settle down for a bit. Certainly it was true the snake in his dream came out. It was a shockingly vivid dream. That was all he could say. Konoe sighed sharply and lashed the ground with his tail. Dust danced in the moonlight that illuminated the room. I forgot we had tail. Tomorrow he would search. He couldn't be certain that there was a secret entrance into his home. It's very possible. For some reason I kind of imagined the house being old. So, very possible. After grooming himself for a bit, Konoe wrapped himself up in his sheets. A cloud covered the moon of shadow which hung above the window. He felt a bad foreboding that made him uneasy. The following day, he would face the reality of his recent dreams. Could be that premonition there that old man made that were bad news. The next morning, the sky was already blanketed with thick clouds, and it seemed as though it would rain. Konoe didn't get much sleep again that night, so he got out of bed in the early afternoon. He couldn't shake the thoughts of the green and yellow snakes. As a result, he felt irritated. The first thing Konoe did when he got up was check for any holes through which a small animal could have crawled into his home. But there were none to be found. Snakes are pretty creepy. Well, not exactly creepy, but any little bit of area they can find, they can push through and get in through. So even if it's the tiniest of holes, they could sometimes get through that. So you have to be careful. Annoyed, he scratched at the ground. Konoe was about to get up and head out when he heard something striking on his door. Konoe listened closely. He heard rough breathing on the other side. Seemed that someone was outside. Someone coming to visit us, maybe? Taking a low profile, Konoe silently approached the door. He pressed his back to the wall and watched the other person was still there. Konoe still heard restless breathing. Maybe it's her friend. Was this person injured? Not dropping his guard, Konoe tried to carefully open up the door. Through the gap of the door, he saw the clothes of the other person.
Oi.
Konoe called out. There was no answer. Suddenly, he felt a force against the door. This was bad. Konoe pulled back at once. The door flew open and a cat pounced, as it Sin? The cat was heaving for air and had an aura of bloodthirst around him. Oh shit, maybe it's the void! His ears were laid back flat, and Konoe furrowed his brows. It was gone. The cat's left ear was missing. Shit. The cat exhaled a threatening breath and looked up. It is Sin! But he's been attacked. Konoe unintentionally gasped. The cat's eyes glared with an intense light, but it was only the right eye. There was a black hole in the place where his left eye should have been. Even though it was hollowed out, it didn't seem like an injury. It was just like the left ear. It just stopped existing. So it is the void. The cat bared his fangs. The sickness. It was a mysterious disease that became widespread about 3 years ago, so it's not the void? Organs would disappear overnight, accompanied by fever and excruciating pain. The mortality rate was high. The onset rate was low, but for females it was different. The onset rate was high for them, and death was almost certain. Because of this, females were scarce. How did you get this? How is this transmitted? The cat raised his voice in a cry and pounced. He lashed out with his sharp claws. Konoe jumped back immediately to retaliate. However, it was hard to do in such a small space. The cat scowled at Konoe, as if upset that he had returned his attack. There was no light in his eye, as if he had lost his sanity. The cat kicked off the floor and threw himself on Konoe. Konoe dodged that arm that lashed out and retreated into his room. Konoe fixed his eyes on the cat. He remembered this face. That was it. Was he not the companion of the sacrificial cat? Oh shoot! I mistakenly thought he was Sin, but yeah. It's his companion. The cat's anger boiled over and he growled. Oh no, so his buddy died and he got the sickness? Konoe didn't want to fight him. He felt feelings like sympathy spread through his chest. The other cat lost his companion and had now developed the sickness himself. He was angry, but behind that, stagnating deep within, was endless sorrow and despair. Konoe lost the will to fight and relaxed his body. His bristled tail returned to normal. The cat looked at him curiously for a moment, but then his expression intensified and he bared his fangs as though he thought he was being mocked. The cat's eye gleamed and he rushed forward a third time. Konoe jumped aside and struck back to push their opponent against the wall. The cat failed to land his strike and flew into the wall. The cat now fell down in a whirlwind of dust, no longer moving. Konoe approached the cat. He looked at his empty eye socket and found it unbearable. The cat grimaced in pain and panted lightly. That's so sad. Konoe crouched down and tried to touch the shoulder of the fallen cat. He felt hot. The cat seemed to be running a fever. He trembled but did not resist him. Konoe couldn't leave him like that. He intended to take him to the shamanic healer. There wasn't any medicine that could cure him completely, but at least it could ease the pain somewhat. The cat shook his tail instead of answering with his voice. Konoe left the home while carefully supporting the other cat's body. Sweat dripped from the cat's skin and from his rough breathing. It was easy to tell that he was in a great amount of pain. Konoe was startled as he walked towards the healer. There were other cats crouching down and moaning throughout the village. Did the sickness spread? There were people missing arms, legs, tails, and ears. It was an onset of the sickness. Shit. Until now, there had never been so many infected. Either way, Konoe only intended to get this cat to safety, so he headed for the home of the healer. Other diseased cats were entering the healer's house. The aged medicine man was completely exhausted by the situation and grumbled that this was the first time there had ever been an outbreak like this. The other cats in the houses were whispering about whether or not this might have been a curse, a consequence from taking too many sacrifices. I don't really believe in curses like that, because this is a sickness, although we don't know how it spreads or how it becomes, but I doubt it's a curse. They were talking about leaving for Ranson. In Ranson, they didn't have sacrifices. Konoe heard that the void's damage also wasn't as severe there, so he understood why they were considering it. Why didn't we go there? By the time Konoe went home, the moon of light was setting beyond the horizon. If it was decided that there were no saving a person who was infected with the sickness, the sick person was set aside as food. Understanding this, Konoe felt disconcerted. So I guess the cats of our village... Oh, excuse me. I guess the cats of our village are going to not be starving for a while. Which also makes this first sacrifice that we did, like the night before, the little white-haired dude, kind of meaningless, because now we got so many. A melody floated on the wind. Konoe stopped and looked back. A lone cat was leaning in the shade under a tree. Ooh. Cat was wrapped in several layers of clothing. A hood shrouded his face in shadow. He carried a lute and strummed the strings with his fingers, humming a song and bouncing his tail to keep time. It was the poet. On certain days, the poet would wander in and sing freely, and then disappear without a trace. Oh, so he's a mysterious man. Whoops. I did it again. Okay, where were we? Okay, here. Before the void came, no one in Karo bothered to listen to him. They'd had little interest in anything outside of fighting. But now it was different. God damn it. Everyone left their home to listen to him. So I guess it's one of those things where you don't know what you had until it's gone. And I'm guessing this is the only thing that calmed people too. Music. The power of music. The songs of this whimsical musician healed the cat's deteriorating heart. The Ribika could not read the language of toucans. Instead, they often used songs, pictures, and letters that they created themselves to convey their thoughts. Songs were important in battle and in daily life. One could not do without them. If he looked around, Konoe could see that several cats were enchanted by the poet's song. The poet cat sang in a relaxed, low tone, a delicate sound echoing whenever his fingers plucked the strings. It was an incredible harmony of voice and sound, and Konoe began to walk towards the poet. He kept a modest distance and sat down tense for some reason. Oh, do we like this poet? This intensity with which my body burns feeds on bitterness and sweetness. Every time I say that name, every time your image is imprinted into my mind, I turn into a sparking and bursting star and stream far, far away. His small body and heart, those emotions will all burn. No, I missed it. Konoe closed his eyes. The poet's voice gradually permeated his ears, and mysterious comfort soothed him from within. The melody of the lyrics rolled over his head. He blankly thought about their meaning. I'm guessing it's a song about someone you love. The poet put away the past and told a dreamlike story through his song. Love. How many cats believed in such a thing now, in a world where they devoured each other just to survive? That's very hard to think of love. The sudden decline in females had weakened the cat's instinct to bring up another generation. Perhaps because of this, a lot of cats engaged in same-sex relationships. Just like I said before, the reason why we're gay. But as a species, they had not lost the need to struggle on. In their everyday lives, fearing death and starvation, they could not waste energy on things that were unnecessary. Thus, Ribika had distanced themselves from romantic dreams of love and affection. The bittersweet flames, where do they now flow? Feelings flowed from the voice of the poet to Konoe's heart. He noticed he'd begun to purr and wondered if maybe this was a love song. Probably is. Although it was stifling, it was also a delightful and mysterious feeling. Makes me wonder how the poet knows love, too. For him to be able to sing this way. Konoe slowly opened his eyes as if coming out of a dream.
いい歌だな
He said softly. Konoe murmured the words without thinking. The poet stopped singing and turned his face towards Konoe. His lips curled into the faintest smile. Ooh! I'm getting all excited here. His fingertips danced over the strings without a care. Konoe felt his tail bristle out, though he didn't know why. For some reason, he began to feel a little sad. Konoe stared at the poet. What was the sensation? Though he had listened to him sing before, this was the first time he'd felt this way. Feeling love. So afterwards, the poet sang more songs about love, lost love, and fierce battles. Eventually, he stood up and departed from the cats who were indulging in his music. And we will leave it off here today. I think this is the first time I'm leaving it off on a good note for a long time now, or at least a few episodes at least. I don't think this episode was bad, except for the snake trying to kill us, but we'll see what happens next time. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye!